Okay, the other thing I want to talk about is the high profile court cases that have recently come out against popular expectations. I'm talking about, of course, the Sean Diddy Combs trial and the Baldoni-Lively, Ryan Reynolds lawsuits that are going on. The latter has not been decided yet, but a major development has happened. I'll get to it in a moment. So, as you all know, the verdict in the Sean Diddy Combs trial came out recently, and he has been acquitted on all the major charges, perhaps only convicted on a minor charge. So, this brings uh, attention to the topic in terms that why does prosecution in America go to these lengths against people whom they know against they cannot win, because they brought bad evidence and perhaps a vendetta against those people, which doesn't work in the courts. So why go through this excruciating exercise for no reason? Is it because the prosecution in America is bad, and it varies from place to place in America as well, but I'm talking about the jurisdiction in which this case was launched. Is prosecution that bad in America? Or is it something to do with money? If you have a lot of money in America, you will seldom be accused, uh, and even more seldom be found guilty of the crimes you're accused of. It only happens, your conviction will only occur when it is followed by a huge, perhaps, social movement like the Me Too movement or the Black Lives Matters, processions that were happening during the George Floyd saga. Because as far as history goes, there seems to be credence to the allegation that courts in America are also or have also been affected by capitalism, to the extent that if you have a lot of money, it is quite difficult for you to get, for any aggrieved party to get justice in America from these wealthy individuals. So yeah, that kind of raises the question. I don't know for sure, but I think I'll be looking into it some more. Uh, I was a witness to the O.J. Simpson trial. I saw how, and this brings me to another aspect of all of this. The court of public opinion is very different from actual courts, and this is what links perhaps to the next Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni lawsuit as well. In the court of public opinion, these cases were entirely open and shut cases. Whether you talk about O.J. Simpson's case, whether it is the Sean Diddy Combs case, whether it was the Harvey Weinstein entire saga, and whether it is the Baldoni-Lively lawsuit. The court of public opinion has perhaps passed their judgment long ago who is the guilty party and should they be punished or not. But the actual courts work on in different manners, and that is what perhaps the public in America in general skips over the most. Perhaps they are blind to it altogether. Um, and this is something that I was talking about in my previous clip as well, that the average intellectual level in American population is perhaps much lower than in the European countries. So people there pass judgments without uh, thinking about the consequences, and the aspect of courts, actual courts working on actual evidence and things that can be proven inside of court beyond reasonable doubt. And that is why in my video about the Lively Baldoni lawsuit, I was also cautious, and I told the public that I'll wait out till there's a verdict from the courts. And what seems now is that at least Baldoni's counter lawsuit on Lively and Ryan Reynolds has effectively been thrown out of the court. And people who were most vocal against Blake Lively, I'm talking about Candace Evans, Ian Carroll, and many others, they have now been subpoenaed. So, I think those people were new to this, perhaps. At least Candace Evans was. I don't think she had her run in with the law anytime earlier. So, she's a rookie in this manner. But talking about legal stuff isn't that easy. You can fall on the wrong side of law very easily once you talk in the manner that these political analysts, social media personalities tend to do in their podcasts. So, this is one aspect I wanted to talk about in the case of these trials, these high profile trials. And the other is perhaps more pertaining to the Sean Diddy Combs trial, is how fornication and adultery not being cognizable offenses in the Western world leads to these kind of, dead areas in your life where the prosecution and the plaintiffs are pleading that they were scared for their lives, and yes, they messaged and did stuff that perhaps aligns with consent. It can be assumed that they gave their consent after the type of messages that are shown to be emanating from those people. But because fornication and adultery are no longer crimes in the Western world, these people have no recourse. These aggrieved parties never get any recourse to claim that they were threatened, they feared for their life, and that is why they kept silent. And also because the person they are accusing of this crime of are so powerful, they can literally destroy their lives. So I think the real problem that perhaps the West has run into is the decriminalization of fornication and adultery. Of course, Christianity considers it a sin and a crime. Of course, Judaism does so too. And yes, of course, Islam says so too. But in Islam, a good balance has been drawn by making proof for fornication extremely difficult and just short of impossible, and criminalizing false allegation of fornication as well. This double-sided, measures in Islam, I think, are the best legislation for life anywhere on this planet. Non-consensual sex, yes, it's bad and should be treated like a rape or assault or whatever terminologies the world has devised for them. They are extremely bad. But fornication and adultery are also criminal offenses in the sight of Islam. And that is what, and I said in Christianity also and Judaism also. But because there's this past where the Scarlet Letter was written and misapplication of the law was done, and even the law was deficient in many matters, they did not know of the Islamic law on this and how it could be very beneficial for the Western world to implement. They decriminalized it altogether. And doing that has perhaps brought a slew of court cases that have burdened the Western legal system as well. Had there been a law like there's one in Islam that criminalizes fornication and adultery, but puts extremely demanding proofs for those allegations, it's a really good way of actually reducing the number of these instances in a society. Not necessarily punishing every offender, because as I told you, the proof for it is very difficult to establish. But still, the people are on guard against being discovered as fornicators and adulterers. So there's a kind of uh, sense to it at scale. It scales in a manner in a society that the occurrences of these kind of incidences reduces to a lot, and perhaps a lot of other structural measures come into play uh, to support this kind of a society in which hotel owners, motel owners, guest room owners, parents, teachers, society at large is on the lookout to see that people do not get into these kind of offenses. So I think this is where perhaps the Western logic has failed, and it is now beyond repair as far as I'm concerned. I know when societies are at their high point, at their inflection points in their existence, they seldom tend to care about these kind of weaknesses that someone points out in their societies. They say, well, something is working since we are at the top of the world. But that is what happens. Societies don't fall in a day. They adopt such practices that are counterproductive to their existence and their rule over the world, their rise in the world politics, uh, but they don't realize it till the time they have become completely hollow inside, and they fall like something that has been eaten away by a termite. So I think this is one thing where they have gone wrong, and with after these pendulum swings of Me Too's, and then again the pendulum swinging back, and once again it is going to swing in this direction, and people are going to realize that there should be some other kind of protective mechanism adopted by our society, and the legal system get involved in it in a manner that such occurrences are reduced to the bare minimum. Uh, and we should be, another learning from this is that we should be really cautious about court cases, because that is not how the world works, the way court of public opinion works. And the world works where you are only guilty if you prove it beyond reasonable doubt. And what was observed during these trials was very, what can I say, very thinly veiled and poorly supported allegations made by the witnesses, the plaintiffs, and other people that could not be that could not be borne out by the evidence that was provided. So I think social media personalities and commentators should take into account the fact that whenever a legal case is being discussed, wait out for the courts to rule on them before giving your absolute verdict on them. Otherwise, you're going to just look silly once the verdict comes out. So, yes, a lot of stupid, freaky stuff was going on in the Sean Diddy Combs world. But was some of it criminal in nature or not? We don't know. And now we know that it wasn't. Yes, he has been convicted on one of perhaps two of the counts, but they are minor counts. Yes, they hold a maximum sentence of I think 10 years, but we don't know what kind of sentencing he will experience, and if at all. And if the prosecution in America is going to learn from such kind of things, such kind of verdicts, to be really cautious in the future. So this is my take on this matter.